What is up, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Fantasy in 15. I am Nate Palva, joined by my fantastic co-host, the one and only, the reality TV show winner, Mr. Joe Pepe, who, in our last video, if you didn't watch it and you're getting ready to draft, go back and check out. We have Hero RB and Zero RB draft strategy videos out there right now on the Faceoff channel. And one of our favorite viewers decided that Joe looks like the Karate Kid. I don't know if he liked taking.
Oh God, no, this again.
Did you not see that comment?
No, I missed that one somehow, but I've heard that in my lifetime. I get Tony Danza and Ralph Macchio like nonstop.
If Tony Danza and Ralph Macchio had a baby in the 80s, it would have been Joe Pepe.
Just give me a TV show. That's all I want.
I would give you one. We're giving you a YouTube show. That's the best that I can do. And on this YouTube show this week, guys, we are going into week 1 of the NFL season. We've been waiting for this for months. We've been waiting for this since February. No football, no DFS, no betting. It's just been, but I'm so excited that we're back. And today we have post-waiver wire sleepers for you. Your waivers have already run in your leagues. It is Wednesday. Everyone out there right now is a free agent, and you can get them for free. And we have 5 players, folks, 5 players that you need to be looking at on your post-waiver pickups. These are people who are going to be contributing to their offenses this season. The first one we want to talk about is Isaiah Likely, tight end of the Baltimore Ravens. The reason we're talking about him, yes, we know Mark Andrews is a thing. Second best tight end in the league. When he's on the field, he has been limited or not at practice this week with a quad injury. He is listed as questionable. Joe, limited in practice, the quad injury. Do we think Andrews is going to play? And if he does it feel like he's going to be on some sort of pitch count with this injury?
Honestly, like, he came back to practice today, so we know he's out there. He'll probably play, but the Ravens are not going to screw up their entire season for the Houston Texans. They can win without Mark Andrews right now. They can use Isaiah Likely, who is talented in his own right anyway. So it's not like we're getting some type of scrub. He's an athletic tight end, and that's the type of stuff we should look for our fantasy football team. Because if your tight end is not athletic, you should not be starting him in fantasy football. That's a Joe 100%. Pepe rule. It's Joe science. You can't argue it. I'm sorry. But Isaiah Likely is going to have his plays. Mark Andrews might be out there, but like you said, kind of a pitch clock. Not going to be out there all game. I do expect the Ravens to go up quick, fast, and just annihilate them. Think like the Eagles last year in 2022, and you'll start seeing those backups in the second half. So I like it. And on DraftKings, about $3,000. Nice little play there.
Yeah, exactly. A fantastic DFS play. Here's something I want to bring up. Okay, last year in his rookie season, we were all we loved the talent. We love what we saw in camp. And then week 8 against Tampa Bay. In Tampa Bay, Mark Andrews missed the game. He was injured. Likely had 19.7 fantasy PPR points.
From a tight end, that's beautiful.
From a tight end. Then in week 18, with Andrews again missing week 18, they kept him on the bench. There was no reason to play him. He had 13 targets, 8 catches, 103 yards. He had 18.3 fantasy points. So in the event that Andrews doesn't play, I would posture that you should probably already have Isaiah Likely if you have Mark Andrews, especially because we've seen him. He misses a game or two at least every season.
Yeah.
And 2, this is going to be a very powerful offense. This isn't going to be the ground and pound attack that we've seen with Greg Roman. We've got Todd Monken, who was the architect of Jameis Winston's 5,000-yard, 30-touchdown season in 2019. This isn't the Ravens that your mom told you about, right? This is a completely different team. And with that, I think that there is some standalone value for Likely, even if Andrews isn't hurt, because we still saw him getting towards the end of the season 3, 4, 5, 6 targets a game, and he sniped some touchdowns. He sniped a touchdown in week 9 against New Orleans when Andrews was in the game. So I see a path to Likely actually having standalone production, not just as a handcuff in fantasy. I mean, am I crazy, Joe?
No, especially for week 1, I like it. And the Houston Texans might not be the greatest team, but what they're trying to do is build up those cornerbacks and those safeties. They have a really good, strong amount of players over there. I like to take advantage of those linebackers who are not going to be able to cover Isaiah Likely. Like you said, he's going to get a play. It's not the Ravens offense from last year. There's going to be play production. Pace of play is going to be faster. If you have Isaiah Likely, or if you want to use Isaiah Likely, when else are you going to use him than in a week where Mark Andrews is either not playing or on a pitch count? You just drop the stats. It's basically Nate science. Every time Mark Andrews isn't there, Isaiah Likely is great. You might as well have that there, because I don't believe, even if Mark Andrews plays, he's not there in quotations.
Yeah, I mean, come on. John Harbaugh's smart. I mean, he's an NFL head coach for a reason. He's been in Baltimore for a long time for a reason, because he knows what to do with these teams. Now, let's go to another injury that's affecting people. Cooper Kupp has been ruled out officially for week 1. If you've got Cooper Kupp rostered in redraft, you likely took him in the first or second round, depending on your league settings. Maybe in Superflex, maybe he floated until the 3rd round. And I was guilty of this too, because when Cooper Kupp is on the field, he's the best player on the field. And it doesn't matter who they're playing, right? He was on pace to break a record for fantasy points scored by a wide receiver last season when he got hurt. Obviously, you want in on that. He's out week 1. The team has said, specifically Sean McVay has said, he might go to IR. And if he does, we know he's down for 4 weeks.
Yeah. Is
this in a Rams offense anybody was super high on? But I'm going to tell you it right now. If you're a Cooper Kupp manager, go out and get Van Jefferson. All right. 14% rostership on Sleeper, which is now the #1 fantasy platform in the United States. It's top on the App Store. So if you're still playing in ESPN or Yahoo, no offense to the companies, get over to Sleeper. It's just a much better platform. If he goes to IR, all right, does Van Jefferson, do we see a significant enough uptick, do you think, in Van Jefferson to where he's not going to be a wide receiver 1?
No.
He's not going to be a wide receiver 2. There's no one in that offense. There's no one that you're going to get on the waiver wire that's going to replace that production. But in the void of your roster, Van Jefferson is a guy who, if he sees enough volume uptick, I mean, he's a good flex play.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to be for your lineup. He is a flex play. You're building your bench here, and you're making it stronger by getting somebody like a Van Jefferson. And here's the thing. Matthew Stafford is a veteran quarterback. And yes, Puka Nacua is great, and I love Puka. But he knows Tyler Higbee, and that's the guy I'm going for first. Yeah. But he's tight end. That's a different world. He knows Van Jefferson, and Van Jefferson was out there every time he was healthy in 2 wide receiver sets. It was always Van Jefferson. So at this point, if Cooper Kupp is missing weeks, and I got the guy who is always in the 2 wide receiver sets, I'm taking the higher snap percentage, and I'm hoping something happens here. Like you said, this isn't like a Tyreek Hill. You're not getting him off the waiver wire. You're never going to get that off the waiver wire.
Right.
You're going to get somebody who can go from level D and possibly become a C, B type candidate for your lineup eventually. You just want to jump a letter grade. That's all. Get a guy at 1 level, get him a little bit higher in your starting lineup eventually. You might not use him this week, but if Cooper Kupp's out for 4, you're going to possibly need him.
Yep. So I want to go back to something you said about Tyler Higbee.
Yeah,
you're right. Tight end. No, but I like this because Higbee will see an uptick in volume.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're a manager, you've got Mark Andrews and you're concerned, you've got Travis Kelce and you're concerned, go out and kick the tires on getting Higbee. He's 55% rostered right now in Sleeper. So that's about a 50-50 chance that he's available in your league. And, you might be able to convince that other manager to make a trade because they're not planning on starting Higbee unless they're the Kelce manager.
Listen, yeah. So I did a draft last night, and I drafted Kelce somewhat early and 2nd round, and then I got Higbee later, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm covered because I knew Cooper Kupp was going to at least miss this week, and now I might have 4 weeks of a tight end who could be top 10, and I get it. Top 10 for tight end isn't beautiful, but at that late of a pick for Tyler Higbee, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to be happy about it.
Oh, 100%. You have to start a tight end. It's not always pretty.
Yeah, you got to start somebody.
This is the smart players. If you're not getting Kelce, Andrews, or Hawkinson at the front ends of your drafts, some people are getting a little happy about Kittle taking him in like the 4th or 5th round, which I'm not a big fan of.
No.
Higbee's a guy who he's serviceable, and that's all you want out of the back end of those.
He's not gonna get you a 0, especially without Cooper Kupp. So you automatically know you got a nice little floor here, a tight end floor. Don't expect 15, 20 automatically, but he can get that because the Seahawks, well, they're not the best against tight ends anyway. So it's possible for week 1 that he scores some points.
Well, let's hope he gets a touchdown because that's what anyone who has him starting is going to need. So now I want to move on to a player. I want to move on to a player, Joe, in an offense that I just really love. And this is a player that you brought up when we were discussing kind of what direction we were going to go with this show today. It's Josh Reynolds in Detroit. He's currently listed as the team's wide receiver 3 on the depth chart. Fantastic. Jameson Williams will be back week 7. But until then, Josh Reynolds has a pretty clear path to pretty decent volume, especially considering the wide receiver 2 in Detroit is Marvin Jones.
Old man
Sage
Marvin.
Veteran, great locker room presence, but make no mistake about it. The dude isn't there to be an impact player on offense. He's a bit role player. We're going to see a lot of Josh Reynolds these first 6 weeks. 100%. And Josh Reynolds, I've liked Josh Reynolds since he was with the Rams. The dude's got talent. He just keeps ending up buried behind guys like Cooper Kupp and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, and now Sam Laporta possibly as well. But he's only 3% rostered right now. So maybe you drafted a guy you don't necessarily like. Maybe the camp reports haven't been great. You're looking for something to do to pivot away from that. Josh Reynolds is a guy you can stash on your bench and wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great play for what you just said. Stash him on the bench. You know, God forbid you have a couple wide receivers down. Let's just say you went Kupp and Judy somehow. They're both out. He would be somehow like a good play to throw in this week because he's in the Chiefs game, high-scoring game. But Josh Reynolds, here's the thing. He's 6'3". So we got a nice tall guy here. And he's 16th in target separation in wide receivers. Not just like on the Lions, not in the NFC, for the NFL. 16th overall in target separation. Basically, he gets away from his defender. He even has a higher air yard per reception than the sun god himself in Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he's going to play in those 2 wide receiver sets. This is going to be a high-scoring game. And here's the thing. Even if you don't want to start Josh Reynolds, fine. That's okay. I get it. Maybe it's a little scary. If you have somebody, like you said, you're not liking the camp reports, you just want to replace that last person on your roster, here's what you do. You get Josh Reynolds. You hope he blows up in this game Thursday night. And then what happens? You trade him for a little bit more. That's when you catch somebody. That's how you get somebody tilting. And they're like, oh, wow, this guy's going to actually do something because Josh Reynolds is good, but he's not great. And maybe you catch one of the other managers in your league.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds is a guy that I was happy taking at the very, very last pick in best ball drafts, just because it's an inexpensive way to get in on this Detroit Lions offense, and I'm hyped on this offense. Big Sam Laporta fan. If you've watched any of my content, you know this. I just am over the moon for Laporta. But I think Josh Reynolds is a guy who if Amon-Ra misses some time, Marvin Jones misses some time, especially early on in the season, those are weeks where you're going to wish you had him rostered because he will be getting 10, 11, 12 targets in those games. Okay, so now I want to move on to a guy in an offense. I don't love this offense. I love one player in this offense, and that's Anthony Richardson. But man, Indianapolis is a mess right now, Joe. We don't know. They said Deon Jackson's going to be the starting running back this week. We know there's no Jonathan Taylor for at least the first 4. I think that the temperature is that he might not play, that they're going to try and work a trade somewhere, do something, even though they're asking ridiculous return on that. I really like Evan Hull. He's a rookie. We don't know a ton about him outside of what he did in college. Haven't seen him in the NFL at all. There's something tells me that this Indy team is going to roll him out, and he's going to be the volume leader week 1. Week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, all the way through the end of the season. I think Evan Hull is the guy who takes over this backfield.
Yeah.
He's also 0% rostered right now on Sleeper, so he's not even going in drafts. So this is a guy you can get for free today.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
And I think it's a very good play. And like you said, 0% rostered. So what we're doing is we're getting in ahead of the spike. And I like the idea because the whole title of this section should be, why not? We have Zach Moss possibly playing. He's not that great, so why not Evan Hull? Deon Jackson, he's not that great. Why not Evan Hull? Let's talk about the coach, Shane Steichen. He comes from Nick Sirianni, who comes over from Frank, who comes from Doug Peterson. You know what they all do when they don't have a superstar running back? It's why not throw that guy in? They love to go with multiple backs. You got to follow the tree sometimes. And this is a guy who his explosion grade and his speed grade in the RAS scores, elite. So if you're going to give me somebody who can get an elite level grading in my very last pick, and if not in the pick on the waiver wire at 0% rostered, I'm going to take the shot. It's not a great offense, but he's going to catch the ball. He's explosive. Give me that. I'll take the shot. And like you said, off the waiver wire, 0%. Again, the title is Why Not? And if he hits, you win. And if he doesn't, you get somebody else next week.
Well, really, if you look at this Indy offense, they're going to be running the ball a ton.
Yeah.
That's what you do with a rookie quarterback like Anthony Richardson. And even if Evan Hull isn't the quote-unquote starting running back, the amount of volume that we're going to see in that running game, it almost just like begs you to take Evan Hull.
I need people to remember that this is the coach that came from the system of Nick Sirianni, that a couple years ago with Jalen Hurts, who was a young quarterback, they ran a lot. I'm not saying Shane was there because he wasn't, but he still comes from over there. He understands the concept, and he's going to run the same thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. And he's going to be a very run-happy team this year.
Yeah.
Now, for our last player here, and we'll get through this guy real quick because we're running over the 15 jokes. I think we like Isaiah Likely a little bit too much. No, it's fine. I was right there with you. Sean Tucker, the undrafted rookie running back out of Syracuse, who is now in Tampa Bay behind Rachaad White. This is an interesting one to me because we're all just assuming that Rachaad White's going to get the lion's share of the volume in this offense. But at the same time, I don't know that he necessarily will. Simply because they're just going to have to run the ball a ton. Baker Mayfield's their starting quarterback. You want that ball out of his hands as often as possible.
Yep.
He makes mistakes. He makes stupid decisions. Rachaad White is one of my favorite, like mid to late round running backs. I feel like you're getting an RB1 in like the 8th round, 7th round sometimes with White. But Sean Tucker is a flex play. What does this team have to lose? Again, back to your why not? Yeah. Because they're going to be terrible. This team's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Sean Tucker is a guy who just simply could see volume and could be a flex play. I mean, again, 0% rostered, stash him on your bench.
Take a shot.
You don't have to use him.
Yeah.
If he sucks and he doesn't see any volume the first 2-3 weeks, you can drop him.
Yeah. Take the shot. It'll hurt my heart with Chase Edmonds, but take the shot. Because there's camp reports about him being involved in the first couple downs on drives on the first and seconds, which is great. He's got speed. He's on an offense that is going to check down a lot because that's what Baker wanted to do. And why not? Like you said, the last 2 running backs have been why not. If they hit, if you get a waiver wire running back and they hit, your team is exponentially better. If they don't hit, you try again next week. That's the whole
thing. 100%. 100%. All right, guys, we want to thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Fantasy in 15. Again, these are running backs and wide receivers and tight ends. We're not saying that they're game changers. We're not saying that these guys are league winners. They are absolute. Isaiah Likely might be the one guy who, if Mark Andrews is out all season, he ends up tight end 2 just because of the skill level in the offense. That said, guys, these are deep stashes. These are not necessarily going to be players who are going to win your leagues, but it's worth shoring up your rosters. Yeah. That's all we want you to do. In case of emergency, you have glass to break. I'm Nate Palvo for my co-host, Joe Pepe. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later this week.